Kelly, welcome to the Social Angle Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, how are things out in Michigan today?
It is the most beautiful sunny day, and our skies are finally clear because we've had some of the haze from the forest fires out west covering our sky. And so it's finally clear and it's sunny and beautiful. I can't wait to be out there later.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we've had some really beautiful weather out here in the Philadelphia area of Pennsylvania, and we're right now it's cloudy today, but I'll take it. It's been 70s actually, and
Yes.
I'll take that over those searing 95-degree days that we had a couple weeks ago. So yeah, so I'm excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking about why sustainability products matter. Before we get started, please take a minute to introduce yourself, the company you work for, and how long you've been in the promo industry.
Sure. I am Kelly Brown. I am the Director of Marketing and Operations at Green Gifts out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And basically, that is just a fancy title that says I wear many hats and do a lot of different things. I've been in the industry for 5 years. This is the only job I've ever had in the industry. I started in sales. We call it project management at Green Gifts. And we found that there was a real need for support for our leadership team. And my role was kind of developed to be that mid-management, but we don't really have a hierarchy. It's just the person that makes sure, everything's getting done and on track. And then I also manage all of our marketing for the company as well.
Awesome. So 5 years in this industry. What do you think of this industry so far?
Well, I came from an e-commerce background. I worked for a company that sold craft supplies live on TV, like an HSN or QVC. And then
Gotcha.
there was also like an online component to it. And I worked in our social media team for that company. And it was like corporate America, but corporate international because we were owned and operated out of the UK. And so it was a drastic change to come into this industry for a small business that it's a hard industry to learn. And I always
Mhm.
tell people that, but I am really sustainability is a great topic because I'm super passionate about the changes that are happening in this industry and the young, fresh workforce that is coming through that's going to help kind of push those changes forward.
Definitely. I mean, I've been in this industry for 13 years, and there are days where I'm like, do I even understand this industry? Sometimes I get so confused with some of the way things work. I mean,
Hmm.
it's challenging to learn, like you said, and but once you understand it and you get it, it's an awesome industry to work with. The people that I've met, I mean, I don't know if I could ever leave this industry now. It's just one of those, you know, industries that I just love working with the people. They're everywhere.
The people make it. Like I felt in the past year in the pandemic, I virtually met more people than I ever have in this industry. And everybody is so willing to support and help wherever they can. And even though we're all competitors in a sense, it's everybody is there to guide you when you need it. Or if you're taking on a new line of your business, like you're going to start printing or do in-house production, there's always somebody out there that's willing to be a mentor for you.
100%. Like whether you can consider them competitors, they're always the first people to jump in and help you out. Um, so you mentioned sustainability. So can you tell us a little bit about sustainable products and why they are important?
Yeah, and it's hard to define what a sustainable product is. I was thinking about that a lot coming into this for the past week, and sustainability is a broad, deep topic in and of itself. And then when you think about sustainable products in our industry, it can get really tricky because there is a lot of greenwashing. That's not new news to anybody, right? You've got a
Right.
bag that's produced in China that's just reusable in its nature. I'll say reusability is a great entry level into sustainability and it can make a huge impact on our world. But a true sustainable product, in my opinion, is something that considers the life cycle of the product from cradle to grave. So it's thinking about how the raw materials are extracted, the manufacturing, the labor, the conditions of where it's being produced, transport, packaging, and then when that product reaches the hands of the end recipient, what's the life cycle of that? It does end up in the grave, which is in the ground or in a landfill or composted or whatever that looks like. So for me, that's what a true sustainable product is. And we're going to, I'm sure, dive into it more, but it's important to think about sustainable products because you have a new wave, a new generation coming through that will not request sustainable products, but will demand sustainable products and also socially responsible practices within your business and the suppliers that you work with.
Definitely. And we'll touch more on that in a second. But yeah, that's a great definition. You bring up a good point about, the greenwashing. Yeah, these bags are reusable, but where are they being made? How are they being made? What is the cost in terms of the environment, in terms of those products? But you're right. It's a good entry level. The reusable bags. I think a lot of us have reusable bags in our
Yeah.
lives. We go to the grocery stores and we're thinking, oh yeah, reusing it, and that's a great thing. We've been doing it for many years. But what's the background of the bag? Where did you get it? And how was it produced? So that's a certainly a great answer. So let me ask you about the cost of sustainable products. Do they cost more?
Yeah, it's unavoidable. Sustainable
Right.
products do cost more. And I'm sure somebody hearing this is probably like rolling their eyes and saying, "No, they don't," but I truly do believe that they cost more and with good reason, but I don't think that that's something to shy away from. The way that I look at it is if you have no real relationship with a client, they come in, they want you to quote out a water bottle and you show them some sustainable water bottle option like the fill it forward bottle or a mirror water bottle, it's really quite expensive and they've been ordering a $3 one from 4imprint, you're not going to win that business. But if you have a client who comes in who is asking for a water bottle at a certain budget and they say something like, "Hey, we do water bottles every year for this event because we don't hand out plastic water bottles. We want people to fill and reuse." Now you have a client who's already engaging with sustainability. They're already thinking that way. It's a little bit easier to convince them to spend $1, $2, $10 more to buy a water bottle that has a better story to it than just the cheap one that might end up on the drinkware shelf at the kids soccer game, but ultimately will probably make its way to Goodwill in a year or two. Whereas something like the mirror water bottle or the fill it forward bottle is something that is really retail forward and has that longer life cycle before it does end up in the grave or in the ground. So I think you can really convince your clients if you build that relationship and know how to sell the story.
Right. And I think that's important. This story really matters. And, again, we'll talk about, the modern consumer who really is in touch with, earth friendly products, and millennials, Gen Z, they're really, generations that are embracing, and you said demanding, they're not even
Mhm.
asking for it. They're actually, the expectation is there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's certainly, you can kind of build into the relationship on selling that story.
Mhm.
Um, Now, we're I don't even know where we are in the pandemic. We seem to be past the pandemic. Now we're like, okay, is it ramping up again? So
Yeah.
recession, pandemic, uncertain times, leaner times, they seem to, create, yeah, a little bit of fear in consumers. Are sustainability products harder to sell during times like this?
I think for me, the lens that I'm coming from is if your budget has been slashed, right? A lot of people have, but we're seeing still a lot of spend. We're seeing that bounce back, right? That's why a part of why our supply chain is struggling is because of that demand. I'm coming at it from your people have been away from you for a long time. So if you're giving your people, your key stakeholders, that might be executives, that might be employees, that might be your own clients, your own buyers. If you're giving them a gift, don't you want it to be something that is so desirable, something that they'll really use and it has a longer lifetime? So instead of spending your budget on a bunch of little trinkets that don't really have any meaning or return on emotion, let's take that budget and buy one really great gift that they grab, they hold on to, and then they're using it on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis. It goes on vacations with them. Now there's more meaning attached to it. That's the one thing we've craved after this whole pandemic is that emotion, is that connection. And those branded merchandise pieces are touch points of your brand. So you have to be a little bit more conscious about what you're handing out. And I think that is the way that you can sell sustainable products when you have clients who are really looking at their budgets. Maybe their executives, the top downs, are really looking at the budgets, those leaner times. You can really kind of sell it from the emotion standpoint.
Right, and I talked about this with Danny Rosen, who's also big on sustainability, and he talks about brand fill, not landfill.
Hmm.
Make the products something that people want to keep. And that's really kind of make the connection, the emotional connection to a product. People will keep those. To me, I think about the products that I have that I keep. And hold on to, whether or not they're quality. There's a connection to them, and that's kind of how you want to build that into that story. And I have t-shirts that are probably older than my 13-year-old daughter that I still wear, and like I wear them, they have holes in them, and I just I love the brand association. So I mean, that to me is like, that's tells the story right there.
Oh yeah, there's I in my drawer still is a Coca-Cola t-shirt that was from like a promotion at Meyer or something, which is just a grocery chain in the Midwest. But I was probably like in third or fourth grade, and they handed them out, and it was like unisex adult sizes. And at the time, my mom and I would drink like a straight up Coke out of the glass bottle every Christmas. And we still pretty much do. And so I don't really drink pop any other time of year, but I have a strong association with the brand because of that. That t-shirt is still in my drawer, still fits. I still wear it all the time. It is soft, worn in, and it's got the Coca-Cola logo on the front. And it's lasted all that time. All the other shirts, the cheer camp shirts, the school shirts, those have all been donated or cut up into rags, but that
Right.
Coca-Cola shirt lives on.
Uh, that said, I mean, aside from that, I love that you guys call Coke pop out there in the
Pop, yeah.
Midwest. Yeah.
Midwest, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny when I hear pop. I always when I went to college for the first time, I went to Penn State, and I'd never heard it called pop, but we had a lot of people from the Midwest, and they called it pop, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What's pop? But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the emotion, like, yeah, I mean, I have the glassware I probably have the most in terms of promotional products. I'm a beer guy. I love craft breweries, and when I go to them, and I love the place, I always get a mug or I get some kind of merchandise, and there's a connection there, and those things I hold on to
Hmm.
pretty much forever. So yeah, I mean, that's a great example. So let's talk about. I want to talk about a TikTok that you did. You did one about supply chain issues.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny because I forget how I stumbled upon your TikTok. I think I may have seen it in another network, but then I checked out your TikTok profile, and you're kind of like working with a client,
Yep.
and you're like, oh yeah, I got that, and then you're trying to figure out the supply chain issues, and things are not going so well. So we have supply chain issues, we have inventory shortages, price increases. Are all these affecting Green Gift's commitment to sustainability?
Yeah, and that TikTok is like that is my everyday life. That Bo Burnham special that came out, I think a couple of months ago, is I think about that song all the time. And that is the situation we are all living in. None of us like it. It's what it is. I just like the pandemic, I'm coming at it from the lens of opportunity. So last year, we sold PPE like a lot of other companies. We did a lot of kitting too because we needed to stay afloat. We're a
Right.
family owned business, and we treat all of our employees like family. We wanted to keep them all on staff, which luckily we were able to. And being in business for 25 years, we took a step back this year and really looked at what are our values, because at the end of the day, we're not going to feel good about ourselves if we're just selling just to sell to stay afloat. We're at a time where we are getting a lot of business. We're having a really successful year despite the issues with supply chain. And I can't control supply chain, but I can control my mindset, the way I sell, and ultimately the way we want our business to grow. We have always been very agency like. We come at every project from strategy instead of product, and we definitely refocused. And we're having those difficult conversations with the clients. It takes a lot to be bold and brave, and when your client is trying to buy a small tchotchke for the trade show, and you have to say, do you really think that the end user is going to use this? What do you want? A product that has more ROI because they use it more frequently, or brands out there? Or do you want a product that they're probably going to throw away before they get back on the plane and head home? So I think last year we might not have asked those questions as much because we were just trying to stay afloat. But we're recommitted and we're refocused really in 21 and moving forward.
So you're not afraid to have those honest conversations with your clients.
Yeah, I won't say that all clients are that way, right?
Hmm.
I definitely know I sell just as much as anybody else on our team, and I definitely know I have some clients who are set in their ways, and sustainable is not for them. They are not passionate about them. I will still push the topic and say, you've got younger consumers coming in. They really appreciate the story in the supply chain, but ultimately it's just not for them. And then there are definitely other clients who appreciate our input and opinion. I say that we need to have equal opportunity on the bus. Like, we're all on this trip and this project together. It's not just our clients like guiding the ship. We should be equal in that. And our clients really respect our opinions. And that's not the same for every company, but we've built that trust over the 25 years we've been in business.
I like that. So you're partners.
Yeah.
I think that's the way all distributors should be approaching it. You're consultative partners. You're working together. You're coming up with solutions. So let's talk about some of your top selling earth friendly products. Tell me a little bit about what's hot right now at Green Gifts.
I personally feel that we are doing a lot of Adidas apparel. The Adidas goal to be 100% recycled polyester by 2024. What I like about that is so close. Like, our clients, 2024, it's right around the corner, and 100% recycled polyester in their apparel. That's a big step. The other thing about Adidas is most of the time there's better stock. Now there won't be, because I'm saying this and everybody's going to go buy it, but usually you can find Adidas more than some of the other name brands, and then you also have that story attached to it. We did a big push for beeswax wraps and reusable foodware back when Michigan started to open back up and offices came back in June and July, because we were saying, it's better for everybody to bring their own silverware, their own food containers, bento boxes, whatever you want to call them, instead of them like going into the kitchen and then you have to wash more frequently. And also then that cuts down on the power usage within your office. But we sold a lot of that throughout the early parts of the summer. I hate to say it, but drinkware always is really, that's one that we always push. I mentioned the Fill It Forward bottle earlier, but we've been pushing that a lot and have had a couple orders come through. I love the QR code on the outside of that bottle because, reusability, like I said, it can be that kind of gateway, and it can have really big impact on our globe. But when you can inspire reusability by offering the QR code where you scan and you see your dollars going to, giving projects, then it's like, well, I'll just drink more and scan more, and then you can track it. So I've seen a lot in that one. And personally, I'm a big fan of Cotopaxi and Osprey. And when they were announced and brought into our industry with Gemline and Sanmar, I was really excited. Those are two brands I personally my values align with them.
Yeah, you bring up QR codes, and it's funny. We just did a story. I don't know if you saw on ASI Central about QR codes and how they're now being used, especially with sustainability products, to kind of track,
Mm-hmm.
the product itself. And the joke was 10 years ago, when QR codes came out, they were hot for about 6 months, and then the joke was you're never going to see them again. All of a sudden now, especially with everything going digital, people are stuck at home in a pandemic. QR codes are now becoming more popular, especially with sustainability products.
I think QR codes is like the greatest thing. There's a million great things that came out of the pandemic, but QR codes for our industry was probably number one for me. We've always had the clients who ask, how do I track the return on investment on this piece? And, we'll shift it to return on emotion. Like, that's how you can really sell it to your upline. You can talk to them about this being a touch point of your brand and retention with employees, all of those things. But when you add a QR code to it, if you can track, people going to a landing page and then filling out a survey, and then do they then schedule a meeting with you, now you can track something based off of that promotional piece. So we do encourage our clients to add things like a QR code inside of a tote, or as a hang tag, or in a water bottle, in the inside cover of a journal, anything that allows you to get some more tracking on, are these people receiving this item and then actually taking an action that results in sales for our company.
Yeah, and I think it's made a lot easier these days with smartphones being enabled now through the the camera, because it used to
Hmm.
be you had to download an app. It became too arduous. It wasn't by the fault of the QR code. It was by the fault of the technology. Now technology has caught up and QR codes are relevant once again. And it's good to see, especially from a sustainability point of view. So let's talk about younger consumers, Gen X, not Gen X, I'm Gen X, I'm not younger, but Gen Z, millennials, they're more conscious about sustainability for sure. They're savvier when it comes to social media. Do you ever use this approach when it comes to selling sustainable products?
100%. That shift to a conscious consumer is inevitable. It's happening now and it will continue to happen. We are also all micro influencers at this point. If you have a social media page, you are a micro influencer, whether it's 10 connections or 10,000 connections. Whatever you share is being viewed by somebody, and they will create an opinion based on what you say about it. And that's a double edged sword because we're also living in a world of cancel culture, which a lot of people hate on. But I personally think, it's good because we're having good, hard discussions about things that probably wouldn't have ever been brought up before. So you have to be very conscious about the way your brand is represented when you're handing it out to people now, because yeah, you do have the younger generation that's going to snap a quick photo of it and share to their LinkedIn. And if it's not something that really aligns with the values of the company they're working for, or their values, they're not afraid to give their opinion and say so. If you're a large company and you say that you're sustainable and you're diverse and you check all the boxes, and then you hand out cheap trinkets to your interns or something, they're probably going to share about it, and they're going to share with their friends, and that network has a lot of power. And we take snapshots on LinkedIn and on Instagram when we see our clients employees sharing, because that has a lot of power. That goes back to that return on emotion. If your employee shares their onboarding box on LinkedIn and they say, XYZ company is so great. Look at these products inside. And I also received a code that allowed me to donate to any charity that I liked. I got to donate to XYZ charity. That has a lot of power because the community they can influence, those Gen Z and millennials, are going to see that, and it helps with your retention. It helps you hire. Everybody wants to hire right now. So all of these things are good, and it's worth the investment for those sustainable products.
Yeah, and that's really the gist of this podcast. Whenever we come up with a podcast topic, we always want to tie it into social media somehow. And sustainability, I've noticed, at least from my personal perspective, is something that this younger generation is more apt to kind of go to social media and share. Like,
Mhm.
I was just at a music festival up in Newport, Rhode Island, and the Newport Folk Fest attracts from boomers to Gen Z, like, it runs the gamut. And the younger kids who were getting promotional products, when I say promotional products on merchandise, anything from the merch tent, they're the ones who are on social media. They're posting it and they're bragging about things. And the more high quality the product, the more apt they are to go to social media. And also the sustainability factor. If there is a water bottle that has aligns with their values, sustainability, earth friendly, eco conscious, they're going to go in there and they're going to share it on social media.
That's definitely true. And they'll tag the brand or the company too, because everybody likes to find that like golden nugget, right? It's if you have a client that's working with you and you sell them something and they have a great experience and it's this beautiful sustainable product or a kit with a bunch of sustainable pieces, their employee gets it, receives it, and they think it's amazing. They're going to tag their employer, and they might tag you, Green Gifts, and say, thanks to Green Gifts for helping us complete this project. And that right there that's golden. That's referral business that's going to come your way, because now their network is seeing, hey, XYZ company trusts Green Gifts to produce these sustainable products for them. That's a trusted source. We should go to them because we want to shift towards more sustainable products ourselves.
Boom, the power of social media. I've been preaching that for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yep.
Finally, it's starting to come to
It
fruition.
it's hard in our industry. It's I have a round table that coordinate, and it's a bunch of younger millennial, some Gen Z voices in our industry who are all in leadership roles. And our discussion last week or 2 weeks ago was on social media, and we are all saying, how do you curate your content? Do you get content from suppliers? And do you tag your clients in it, or do you not want to share your clients because
Right.
competition can see it?
Hmm.
And I said we mostly tag our clients. Sometimes we do ask if they're larger companies, are you okay if we share your work? Because we want people to reshare. If I tag my client, most of the time they'll reshare. They're proud to partner with us because we have that partnership and we have a really strong relationship. But social media in our industry has always been really tricky. And I think there are some companies out there who do it really, really well, but it has so much power, especially because we work in an industry that's completely visual and
I
tactile.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, I've been doing social media since 2009. And, to me, I thought it was, hey, this will be easy. But then I realized how difficult this or complex this industry is. And making it work has been a challenge, but over time, it's proven effective. Social media definitely works. And you gave a great example there. Look, quality products. It's not just about the products. It's about, we could talk about experiences. We could talk about, the products are, what delivers, the solution. And it's just people are going to go to social media to show these things off because, like you said, they're tactile, they're physical, and people love that kind of stuff, especially when they make a connection with a brand.
Hmm.
So,
Definitely.
so let's talk about when I first started in the industry. There was a lot of talk about um, the stuff that we produce being trinkets and trash that ultimately end up in landfills. They've even been labeled, and I've seen this from multiple politicians, as wasteful, and people in the media, the people who are outside of this industry have, writers have written how promotional products are just wasteful. What do we have to do in it, as an industry to be better at making sure we're as sustainable as possible?
There are really three things that I can think of. Number one is to have more discussions like this.
Hmm.
I think the old school way of doing business is to not share your secrets and not really talk too much about your business other
Hmm.
than maybe how well it's doing. But when we share and we educate each other, we make the industry rise to a new level. And I think, Promo Cares, Promo Kitchen, Common SKU, to name a few, are all doing an exceptional job of pulling together those change makers and industry leaders to educate and motivate the rest of us to do better. So I think that's number one. Number two is to really change the language we use when we're talking about promotional products. And I think this shift is already happening and most people are catching on. I'm a millennial, and as a millennial, I did not think it was very glamorous to go around when I got this job and say, "Yeah, I work for a promotional products company. We put logo on everything." That doesn't sound good to a millennial. But when I said I work for a branded merchandise agency that creates touch points of brands, executive gifts, high design, custom, when I'm using that language, a light bulb goes off in people's head where they see the industry different. Now, not everybody's going to use that language because it doesn't always relate to your brand. But if we can shift our language to talk more about the story of supply chain and less about just sell, 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 I think that can really help shift us into more of a sustainable industry. And the last one would be, this is my big dream, okay, is that our search functions we use in this industry, whatever one it is, auto populates certified diverse suppliers or products that have gone through some certification process we deem applicable for our industry to be sustainable. Because if you auto populate them first, unconsciously, we as sales reps will select. We're not going to scroll for 60 pages. We're going to go back and research until we find what we really want. So if we can auto populate from the beginning, chances are we're going to select more sustainable or from diverse suppliers, which, is the larger role of social responsibility. But that's my dream. That's my big stretch for this industry.
I love it. I love all three of those answers. Those were great. Um, and I can't top that. So we're going to get right on to our last question. I always end the podcast with a fun question. So a couple months ago, I don't know when it was, in the springtime, you posted that a mama cat had snuck into your facility and made a box of client blankets, her home for her kittens. Can you give us a little more about that story and what happened to those kittens?
Yeah, that is like the most perfect thing that could happen to Green Gifts because we are very animal friendly. We have 3 dogs that come to our office every single day. I am the cat lady of promo. I've got 3 cats myself. I'm surprised one of them isn't laying back here. Usually I've got one on each side. So it was really fun to find out that we had a mama cat come into our facility and have her babies, and everybody's good. They're almost ready for adoption because they were obviously very young and needed to wait a while. But they are at the Harbor Humane Society here in West Michigan, and we're still working to convince our owners to bring one in and let it be a shop cat for us. But I don't think that'll happen. I can't take another one, but yeah, it was a really fun story. And our client, who's had the blankets in the box, they were thrilled and loved posting it to their own social media.
And if anybody's curious, this is the perfect type of social media content for your brand. You guys got it out there on social media. I mean, it was, you know, there was a behind the scenes aspect to it. Obviously, you know, your brand was in there. There's an element of cuteness to it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, yeah, because we love cats here, and I'm just like, oh, that's so cute. And you know, to know that you guys, you know, we're animal friendly, you know, made it all worthwhile. We knew the kittens were in good hands,
Yeah.
and they must have known like, this is a good place to go. So well,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for that story. Before we end, let everyone know where they can contact you.
Yeah, I have to find my Instagram handle, but you can find me at Green Gifts, Kelly at greengifts.com, and that's gifts with a Z instead of an S. That's how I always say it. And then I'm KB underscore branded swag on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kelly, and we will be in touch. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.